You on this Monday morning, and just a programming note, yours truly will be out tomorrow, back on Wednesday. The Rehoboth Foodie and Dr. Michael Hurd will be in from 6 until 9, and we'll air this week with Gordon Deal in the 5 o'clock hour. Joining me right now on the Rehoboth Beach Running Company Newsmaker line, Delmarva's Legacy Running Store, is Delaware attorney Thomas Neuberger, no stranger to this program. And Tom, good morning. Thanks so much for your time. I do appreciate it, sir.
Always good to be here, Mike. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And we try to keep up with the news as best as we can, Tom, but there's so much that goes on that there are some news stories, some that can be rather significant that we end up having to play catch-up on. And admittedly, this is one of them. Story out about a week ago in the Maryland Coast Dispatch, which also covers Fenwick Island as well. And their headline, Fenwick Police Chief hires attorney, demands employment contract be restored. And the start of that story is Fenwick Island's police chief has hired an attorney in an effort to restore his employment contract. On Tuesday, attorney Thomas Neuberger issued a letter to the Fenwick Island Town Council demanding that his client be reinstated and contract restored through August 31st of 25. That action comes more than a month after the town announced it would not renew Devlin's employment agreement, and weeks after allegations of a security breach within the Fenwick Island Police Department came to light. So I just wanted to give some folks some context on it because this is the first that we're talking about it here. So I'll let you kind of start from the beginning, summarize for us all that's transpired here in the last month and where things stand today.
Oh, okay. Well, apparently the town and its mayor want to undermine the law enforcement function and have a police department down there subservient to the wishes of the mayor and other elected officials. That's a very slippery slope, which can only lead to corruption eventually. Independent police officers should not be subject to the demands of town council members when such demands infringe on independent police authority and violate the criminal laws. So here's what's happened. Fenwick and any town hires police to enforce what we know is the rule of law against the powerless ordinary citizen. That's you and me, but also as well as powerful elected officials. To paraphrase one commentator, the rule of law is a constitutional shorthand for the idea that everybody gets treated the same under the law. Everyone is held equally accountable for obeying the law, and no one's given a free pass based on their politics, their connection, their wealth, or their status. We stand equal with these people. Well, the chief had his contract non-renewed May 1st and asked us to look into it. And after careful investigation, it appears that his employment was terminated recently, just 7 days after he chose to enforce the rule of law against the mayor in Fenwick, who it appears has illegally had unlimited access to secure areas of the police department, which contain highly confidential and sensitive computerized criminal justice information is what it's called, which is strictly protected by Delaware and federal law from unauthorized access or the risk of disclosure. So he was bounced out 7 days after reporting that, and we believe that this violated his contract and, more importantly, the First Amendment. So he's been down there for over 23 years serving the people in the town of Fenwick. Okay, his performance reviews have been exemplary. His last employee evaluation, he got 48 out of 50 on his job approval. In March, the town council gave him an award for 20 years of service. So here's what happens. It's after dark, April 23rd, about 9:30. The mayor enters two unsecure security codes and gains entrance through two doors into the back of the police department into an area where there are 6 secure computer terminal stations which contain this highly confidential criminal justice information. Eyes only the Attorney General, eyes only our judges, eyes only the public defender, FBI information, national information, all accessed, on these computer terminals. Now, nobody knows how many times he's gained access to this area in the past. It just happened that 2 of the officers were in the building that evening, taking their lunch period and having a sandwich in the evening, okay, and they discovered her and escorted her out of the secure area. Now the mayor publicly has falsely claimed that she had authority to enter the secure area. And guess what?
I was going to ask you about that.
Devlin gave her the authority.
Right.
Gave her the authority to be in the area where all this information can be accessed. Well, the law here is that he had to report it up the chain of command here in the state of Delaware. The next day he ordered it reported, and the security codes changed. Guess what? For 2 days, the mayor or her agents demanded the new security codes. Guess what? 7 days after all this, he was given the boot and told his contract ends. Those are the facts. That's what happened. All right, Mike. Why don't you ask me some more questions?
Yeah. So to that end, does she have any evidence that she was given those codes by the police chief? And I take it the police chief denies that she ever gave Mayor Magdeburger any security codes.
Of course he did not. Of course he did not. No, all we've seen reported in the press is, he gave it to me. He gave it to me. He invited me into these going into the station in this way, not through the front door, through the back door. No, we haven't seen any reference to any proof. And what we've seen in the press is, despite the fact that he's been there 23 years, despite the fact that he got awards in March, despite the fact that the department has gotten FBI awards for how it operates and everything else like that, there are mysterious personnel questions that we don't want to discuss in public. So they imply it's just a coincidence 7 days after catching him and reporting him up the line of command to the Attorney General's office and everywhere else. We had decided that he really wasn't that good, and it's just a coincidence that this happened 7 days after she was caught. So no, nothing's been turned over to the press or anything like that. Okay, and here let me. It's a crime. It's a crime for the chief not to have reported it. In my letter, I gave him about 10 citations to 10 different. It's more than 10 different provisions of the Delaware Code that say that. Here it is. I'll read to you. Access to computer facilities is restricted to authorized users. What's that mean? Access to computer facilities. Oh, that's a building. Okay, let's look at it another way. Access to system operating environments. System operating environments. Maybe that's the four walls of a room with the 6 computer terminals. Is restricted to authorized users. Guess what? Mayors aren't authorized users. Law enforcement people are authorized users.
Well, Tom, there are two big questions here. Then, where did she get the code to get into the back of the building from? Where did she get that code or codes from? And do we have any idea about why she was in there? Was she trying to go onto one of the computers to search for information? Do we know anything?
Well,
those are two big questions.
That's the point. She's had the codes. She's the mayor of your small town. Who knows how she got the codes? She could have bullied somebody. She could have bullied a secretary or somebody like that. Who knows? I saw in the press down there that the mayor's not a long-term mayor. The mayor is someone who more recently took office.
Correct.
Okay? Apparently from her mother, who used to be the mayor before her or whatever. Who knows how she got the codes? But the point is, the chief is willing to say under oath that she didn't get them from him. Okay? And so she's a person who has unauthorized access. And there are at least 5 separate Delaware statutes that make it a crime to provide access to those areas. So, of course, if the chief sat on this and did not report it, it would have been a crime by him. He could have been prosecuted. He could have been set up. So, of course, he applied the rule of law. The rule of law. Mayor or you and I caught in a speech rap or whatever, the rule of law applies to everybody. My gosh, this is what they're going after former President Trump for, okay? Nobody's special. The law has to be applied to everybody. So I've warned the members of the town council that they all voted, all 7 of them voted, apparently to terminate his contract, I guess on the recommendations of the mayor. Who knows? Who knows? But they'll be hauled into federal court to explain their vote. The last time we did that, Mike, 10 years or so ago, against, the Sussex Votex School District, we got $1 million jury verdict for retaliating against people for protected First Amendment activity, okay? And we got $50,000 in punitive damages against the members of your school board down there, okay? So we've got 7 people down there that maybe will come to their senses, or I just learned that there's an upcoming election apparently in August. Maybe the rascals will be thrown out of office by the people of Fenwick because of investigative reporting by you and the media down that way. Okay, maybe the people will decide they need to clean house down there. Okay, and it'll save us having to go to federal court, and it'll save the town of maybe another $1 million jury verdict here. Okay, so this is a very serious matter. And as I said, they're seeking to undermine the law enforcement function by thinking they can ride roughshod over law enforcement in the town of Fenwick. This is a very serious matter.
And Tom, let me ask you this, because this is a big question as well. Prior to April 23rd, what was the relationship like between the police chief and the mayor? Was there any indication that the relationship wasn't good prior to that? That there might be more here than just what happened in this instance?
Well, what I'm told is, and what my investigation has revealed, that in March, when town council gave him an award for 20 years of service, there's a video recording, of what was happening there at that time, and the mayor herself was praising him.
Okay.
For being the
that's very interesting. And then just a month before, so that is very interesting that all of this transpires a month later like that. Okay, well that is
exactly,
important.
Exactly. Of course, there are going to be those kinds of records. If they're saying that somehow, this man who's been there for 23 years, between March and April 24th, fell off the cliff. Performance-wise, they're going to have some solid proof about that, and each individual member of the town council there is going to have to give his or her reason what they thought happened. Maybe they were just relying on the mayor and backing the mayor. The mayor says we got to get rid of this guy for whatever.
Yeah, that
maybe they didn't understand. Maybe they didn't know that there's a 10 or 12 provisions of Delaware law, criminal law, that say unauthorized users aren't allowed in the computer room, the environment, and they just relied upon the mayor. Maybe that'll be their excuse. Well, that's not going to be enough now that I've pointed out to them what the law really is. So hopefully they'll back off.
Yeah, and Tom
says they're interviewing for a new chief.
Tom, I'm really curious. Well, right, but what I'm curious about too is, okay, so the chief right now is out at the moment, but with what he reported on the mayor, is the mayor been suspended, if you will? Is she still acting as the mayor, or has she been suspended until an investigation of this situation plays out? How is all that working?
Well, the chief, he reported it up the chain, and I would hope that the Attorney General's office, through the Public Integrity section, would open up an investigation of what's going on in Fenwick and interview people under oath. Okay, Mayor, when did he supposedly give this to you? How long have you had these codes? Are you willing to say all of that under oath? What things you're saying to a newspaper or whatever? Okay, the chief welcomes an investigation. The chief welcomes interviews. The chief welcomes interviews of the 2 officers who were fortunately in the building that night after dark. Okay, now it's gone up. We don't know what's happening. But perhaps, since this seems to be a front-page story, maybe the Public Integrity section of the Attorney General's office will do its job and look into this matter.